Let's look at what happens when we have multiple independent variables causing a dependent variable. So we have several sources of influence on whatever we're looking at that influence the dependent variable. Let's look first at all how we could draw this out. I'm going to bring a PowerPoint over here. And this is from the stats class. What we have here is we have two independent variables, A and B, that are both influencing our one dependent variable, C. And what we do in this model is we collect data on A, B, and C for whatever we're studying. So like if we're studying people, we collect data about A on them, B, and C. And we test to see if both A and B contribute to C. Now, the results may be that only A contributes to C, or only B contributes to C, or neither A nor B significantly contribute to C, or both A and B contribute to C. So we can have all kinds of combinations possible there. Let me show you a more complex one. This was based on a data where we looked at the predictors of insomnia, and they wanted to find out, does asthma predict insomnia? And they controlled for all kinds of things. They controlled for sex, which was significant, age, which was a significant predictor of insomnia. Education was not a significant predictor of insomnia. Whether one had a partner or not was not significant in this model. Whether one smoked was, and whether one exercised or not was. It was a negative predictor. People that didn't exercise had more asthma or more insomnia. And then even controlling for all of these, asthma still predicted insomnia. So this is multivariate modeling. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 independent variables predicting the one dependent variable, and all but 2 were significant. So this is what we mean by multiple independent variables predicting a dependent variable. Now, this relates to what's known as the principle of multiple causation. It states that there can be more than one cause of a given effect. And this is really important because there's a fallacy in our thinking that if something happened, there's one main cause and really only one cause of it. But that's not true. We look at all kinds of factors that can influence something. We live in very complex systems, and so there are many, many types of factors that influence different outcomes. Now, this gets controversial sometimes because you've probably heard, don't blame the victim. Well, how can this be controversial? Well, suppose that I am driving along on a surface street at 100 miles per hour and some drunk driver runs a red light and runs into me and kills me. I'm going to be the victim. Now, legally, I'm the victim of a drunk driver. The drunk driver did something illegal, and somebody might say, Professor Dennis was kind of an idiot for driving at 100 miles per hour. And then somebody says, oh, no, don't blame the victim. When we say don't blame the victim, we don't mean that, there's only a single cause of something. We mean we've got to be sensitive of people's feelings. The idea of not blaming the victim isn't a means of understanding why something happened. It's not a means of determining the truth. It's a means of protecting people's feelings. Science, on the other hand, is more concerned about, let's look at the data and see what happened. What is the truth? And so this becomes quite controversial in science because right now there's a lot of debate on, what should you do about data that might hurt people's feelings? Should you not analyze it? Should you not publish it? Should you not talk about it? Or should all truth, all data, all science be made known so that people can better understand and respond to what the data is saying? So that's a controversy in science right now. But on the practical level, this means that each dependent variable can have several independent variables, and there are different ways of analyzing these models when we have multiple independent variables. Now, most of the time, at least in organizational psychology, the independent variables are continuous variables. We measure them with a normal distribution. Most people are in the middle. A few are high, a few are low. Um, it's a continuous variable, and we would use multiple regression if these predictors are um, uh, continuous variables to see which ones significantly predict the dependent variables. For example, a research question might be, which of the big 5 personality traits predict organizational commitment? So the big 5 personality traits, or the personality traits that all other personality traits are correlated with, are the 5 main categories. And we have like openness to experience, how open-minded somebody is, how conscientious somebody is, how committed to getting tasks done are they, extroversion, how outgoing somebody is, agreeableness, how nice somebody is, and then neuroticism, how much people worry. Those are the big 5 personality traits, and they tend to be correlated to each other. They're not completely independent. So we might find that they're all correlated with organizational commitment, but we want to find out what drives organizational commitment. And we could put all 5 of them into a multiple regression to see if all 5 of them are significant, or if there's just 1 or 2 that that remain significant when we control for the others. And so we do the multiple regression, and each independent variable, each of the personality traits, will have a beta or a B value. Or beta is a standardized coefficient. Sometimes it's a small b, and the big B is the non-standardized coefficient in the regression equation. And it's significant if the probability of getting that value by chance alone is less than 5%. If it's big enough to say, so we can say, oh, that wouldn't happen by chance, then we say it would be significant. So that's a normal way that we test multiple independent variables in organizational psychology, because most of them are continuous. But sometimes we just have categorical variables or nominal variables, where we can put things in categories, like sex, men or women, or age, younger, the same, or older, categories like that. And then in that case, we use what's known as a factorial design to test the influence. And we use another test called the F test, or ANOVA. For example, we might ask, do gender, education, and age predict supervisor ratings? And so we do male or female supervisors get rated differently? Does the education of the supervisor influence their ratings? Does the age of the supervisor relative to the rater get influence the ratings? So we have 3 factors relating to the supervisor. Gender would have 2 categories, male or female. Now, we could put in a 3rd category, but to do this type of data, you have to have it, in general, at least 30 people in each category. So if you wanted to have another gender, we'd have to have 30 that are younger than the rater, 30 that are the same age as the rater, 30 that are older than the rater, and same thing with age. And so you have to have a lot of data in each of the categories. So it's easier to just stick with the fewer number of categories. So we've got gender, we've got education, less than the rater, same as the rater, or more than the rater, because that might influence people's evaluation of their supervisor. And the same thing as age, younger than the rater, same as the rater, older than the rater. So now the study doesn't have anything to do with the quality of supervision or anything like that. We're just looking at demographics to see if demographics influence how people rate supervisors. And so what we would do is we would get a bunch of people in each category. Down here, we've got females and males. And then the three main categories vertically are the age of the supervisor, younger than the rater, same age as the rater, older than the rater. And then under each of these categories, we would have to have education of the supervisor less than the rater, same as the rater, more than the rater, and repeat that all the way through there. And so that gives us about 18 different cells here. And we would get data from about, say, 30 people per cell. It's kind of a rule of thumb, and calculate their average and use an F test to see if gender influences the supervisor raters, education, or age. And not only that, we would be able to see if the influence of gender varies with education, and if the influence of gender varies with age, and if the influence of education varies with age, and all kinds of combinations. We can see how everything interacts with each other. It gives us lots and lots of statistics so we can see how things interact with each other. So that's an ANOVA test, and we only use this for factorial designs for all of our variables are nominal. Now, there aren't too many tests like this, too many studies like this in organizational psychology, because we can get a lot more data when we have continuous variables rather than just putting them in categories. So this is a little overview of how we model multiple independent variables and how we test to find out which of the independent variables significantly predict the dependent variable.